Hi, guys. Welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. Today, I have Lucia Sivertsen, a licensed psychotherapist and creative arts therapist. She's the founder and visionary behind the Brave Women's Community Center, a trauma informed, arts based nonprofit that helps women and girls heal from abuse, reconnect with their inner voice, and reclaim their power. Drawing on her background in theater, dance, movement, therapy, and psychotherapy, Lucia has spent more than a decade helping women untangle the grip of trauma and social conditioning. So, Lucia, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much, Laura. It's funny to hear my own bio read to me. I was like,
I
wow,
know.
I don't feel that impressed.
You are impressive. No, I know. I get the same way when I'm on other shows. I'm like, wow. But listen, we're doing the work, right? So
Yes, yeah, exactly. It all adds up. So,
it
yeah.
does. It does. So tell me how you decided to go into doing this work to help women and girls.
Yeah, that's kind of a longer story, which kind of starts in 2019, and even has some background, I think, in my family of origin
Yeah,
as well, which I can
right.
go
Of
into
course.
as well. But I didn't realize any of the family of origin stuff until I had my episode with OCD in 2019. I knew that I had something quirky about me all along, all my life, and there was a different way that I thought about things. And I am a psychotherapist, and I never quite admitted to myself that I had obsessive compulsive disorder because I always just managed it. And I'm a very positive, optimistic person. I think I just was that personality trait has really helped me to manage it for a very long time. But then in 2019, I had a health scare. My life was very different by then. I was 41. I'm married. I was married then.
Yeah.
Um, I had two small children. I had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I had a health scare where
Um,
I had taken birth control and had a very bad reaction on it. I hadn't been on birth control in 5 years, and I was starting to have some perimenopausal symptoms, and went to my doctor who I had a very bad experience with. There was a lot of um, well, you're not having babies anymore, and we just yeah, there's not much we can do for you. Here's a birth control pill
yeah.
for you to be on. And so I started taking it, had a really bad reaction, had terrible, terrible stomach, gastrointestinal
Mm,
issues, and ended up losing. I went through this. All of a sudden, I was losing weight, like
mhm.
gangbuster. It was awful. I couldn't eat. I was always nauseated. I lost 10 pounds, like just like that. And it was really frightening. And I just kept losing weight. And I would go to the doctor and they would just call me crazy. And in fact, they did. They said, "Why don't you talk to somebody? Why don't you talk to somebody?" Um,
Wow.
and set me away and told me to see my GP, which I did. But the whole thing started a cycle of like, what is wrong?
Mm,
What is wrong? And no one could figure anything out. And I just kept losing weight. And that led into me not sleeping. So I didn't sleep, literally. I did not, I slept maybe an hour or two a night, and I went on for about 10 months.
wow.
I don't even know how I was surviving that with two small children. We didn't have any help here.
Right.
Um, I had no help here. We don't have family here in Denver. My husband was working full time. I had to manage all of that, and OCD had a real grip on me, basically telling me that I was dying. I
Wow.
was dying, and so my 24/7, my process was trying to figure out what was wrong with me, and that I wasn't going to die, and I wasn't going to leave my children behind, and my husband wasn't going to go marry some other woman, and
Right.
that you
Right. Yeah.
all of these things came up, and that was my whole entire life was 24/7 thinking about that and obsessing about that, either sitting and just thinking about it or scanning the internet looking for what could possibly be wrong, trying to get doctors to help me to figure it out.
Right.
Um, and then I started to become suicidal because when you don't sleep for several months,
Yeah.
you your brain starts to do other things. I had never been suicidal in my life. I'll admit, as a psychotherapist, I've always had trouble understanding it from my client's point of view. I've always felt life is worthwhile and I want to be in it. And then I didn't. And it was really frightening to get to that point where I actually did start making plans
Oh,
to end things. And I started entertaining going into the garage when everyone was sleeping and turning on the car and
yeah,
just going to sleep, and that my kids would actually really be much better off because now they have this crazy mom,
yeah.
and I'm an embarrassment. And, I didn't want them growing up with an embarrassment for a mom.
And this happens, right? When you're not sleeping, your brain is like all these thoughts. Well, really, we know that not sleeping, it like just starts to destroy. They know from having done studies that it just
Yeah.
starts to destroy you. So, I mean, you really had no control over what was happening
Mm-mm.
with any of this. And how did you end up like getting out of this?
Yeah.
And did you
I
tell your husband or anything that you were feeling that way?
he knew, but I think he was so confused. This is the thing about having OCD, is that when you don't have it, no one really understands what's happening and like why you can't stop thinking about these things. Because
Okay.
you, like you said, you literally don't have any control over it. And when you don't have it, people don't quite get like what on earth is going on? Like,
Yeah.
why won't you stop this? And I think on some level it's irritating, or
Right.
it's just, and I don't think he was so irritated, but I think he just could not understand.
Yeah.
And my husband is a very loving person, and he was there for me, but he was also so wrapped up in work and trying to just be a good provider for our family. And that's,
Yeah.
um, he really wants that. That's a very important role for him to have. And um, he didn't know how to help me, and
Sure.
I just I think something clicked for me where I started to realize I don't think my body is sick. I think my mind is sick. I can't really explain it, Laura. I just something clicked and I realized
Yeah.
I think my mind might be sick. And I started looking up therapists in my area and amazingly came up with my wonderful therapist, and I'll name her Lori.
Mhm.
Um, who specialized in treating OCD. And I went onto her website
Wow.
and she listed all the things, right, that you might be experiencing. And I would just like, it was just so relieving for the first time. I was like, oh my God, yeah,
Feeling seen and understood.
yeah.
Yeah.
And sad too at the same time. Like, this is it. This
Yeah.
is it. You're like, you have a brain disorder, you're like sick.
Right. And were you
Yeah.
still at this time on the birth control? Had you done any correlation with that at all?
No, I that was later on where I started to give myself more permission to be angry at the way I was treated in regards to that. I had stopped taking it,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
really like it goes more into like how terribly I think women are treated
Oh, for sure. Women's
medically.
health. Yes, women's
Yeah.
health. Yeah. And especially this whole thing with menopause and everything. I mean, I went, and it'll just be a quick story, but when I went, I made two appointments, my, general practitioner and then my OBGYN. And I'm like, I am leaving with one of them giving me something because I felt like I wanted to die or kill people. Like I'm serious. And
Yes, I know.
yeah, I mean, I always say I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm like, it was either going to be me or somebody else. And I'm like, something is wrong. I've just gained 20 pounds. Something is wrong with me. Like, how do I gain 20 pounds in a month when nothing? And so my GP said, terrible. She got fired right after this. You should calorie count, all that. This is what women are told. Like, you could have cancer and they're like, you should really lose weight.
Yeah.
And so have to calorie count. And I was just looking at her like, you don't, I said, no, I've listed everything. It seems like it's menopause. No, but it's not. Okay. Well, oh, fine. So I went to my OBGYN same week and I said, I was crying. I said, somebody help me. These are my symptoms. And also my thyroid, which is all coordinated, right? It's all happening at the same time. Yeah. So guess what? Got fixed my thyroid, got put on some hormones, and listen, that changed my life. That worked for me. That changed my life.
Mm,
So, but thank God for my OBGYN who was like listening, and there is a great practice and they're listening, but I don't know how many of my friends are like, nobody knows what to do. Oh my God, tell them with words. Well, I mean, there's only so much you can do. But when they did the hormone test, guess what? I had nothing.
yeah,
So I had
that's
gone,
what usually
yes,
happens.
I
Yeah,
had gone all the way through perimenopause. I've been crying about this. I remember thinking back, I've been crying about this for a decade. So I
yeah,
went all the way through perimenopause, and now I'm in full menopause with nothing, with nothing. And it's sad to me that women have to suffer like this. And then things like what you are experiencing here, have some birth control.
yeah,
Okay, well, why not just give her estrogen if that's what you think she needed? Like, why throw her on birth control?
right.
Anyway, that's just my opinion. But yes, I agree. Women, and so there's people who are talking about this. And I'm so glad that we're starting to talk about this because it's so damaging, not only to our bodies, but to our mental health, how we don't. And so, like, I mean, you see that with what happened to you. So
Yeah, I mean, I see it as a form of abuse, and that is my, one of my biggest platforms, right? Is helping survivors of
yeah,
all types of abuse throughout all types of relationships, and the relationship with your that is a relationship,
it
you know,
is.
and they are abusive. They can be abusive.
Yeah, gaslighting you.
Yeah,
They even say things like, if you go to the doctor and you think your pain is at a 6, just go ahead and tell them it's at a 8 because they think you're lying anyway.
yeah, right.
That to me is ridiculously sad. It's so sad. And and so anyway,
Well,
we're
but you know what, Laura, what's even sadder to me though about this in the medical, it's like it's not like it's better when it comes from a man because it's not when
yeah,
it's a male that's the medical professional. But when
yeah,
it's in my experience was women, it was all women who behaved in this way
yeah,
towards me. It was also women who helped me in the end, but um, it was women who I always compare it to like it's like you looked me straight in the face, you saw that I was suffering and you decided to take your foot and just
yeah,
shove me right over the edge because that's what happened. And I do wonder sometimes, and right now I'm grateful that I went through it, but at the time it's like, did I have to go through that OCD episode?
right.
Maybe you could have like pulled me back, but instead you took your foot and
Yeah.
you shoved me right over the edge.
Hmm. Yeah, my GP was a woman, and she was young, which I don't, it doesn't matter. I mean, she was younger, and I'm just like, in my head, I was like, just wait till you hit perimenopause. I don't want to wish ill on anybody, but that's how I kind of felt. I'm like, calorie count, cool. Okay. So I'm thinking about hurting myself, but yeah, go ahead. I'll calorie count. You're right. I like shut down. And I remember being in my abusive marriage and would just shut down and be like, whatever they're saying to me, the gaslighting that's happening right now, I just shut down. And
Hmm.
I remember when I did that in the doctor's office, I was okay, I will go do something else, and it's not going to be with you. And that to me is heartbreaking because I know there's plenty of women who are sitting there. I'm glad we're talking about this, who are sitting in the doctor's office and they're going like, oh, there's nothing we can do for you. Yes. And if they tell you, well, it's just your age, right? But there are actually things that can be done to help you. So it's not just our age. We don't have to, I would say, raw dog because I did nothing. I did nothing. And I cried and cried every time I went to the doctor. I'm like, something's wrong. Yeah, it was perimenopause, and then it was menopause. Like idiots. Anyway, uh, it just makes me so mad, and
I
all abuse does. So
Yeah, I want to share a reflection because this is really important. Like, I feel like for me to like just share, like, if there's anybody out there who has had this experience, I just like, I just want you to know I had it too. And like, there was a moment in the office where when that nurse practitioner who was basically calling me crazy handed me a psychotherapist's card. Um, and I walked out of there. I had my two kids with me, my 5 and my 2-year-old too, because I didn't have, I had to beg them to see me that day too. And I didn't have childcare. Like I had to bring my kids with me. And she spoke to my son and she said, "And what will you be doing today? Will you be going to the park? Make sure you take care of your mommy."
What?
And then I walked out with like, I just felt so ashamed. And then when I walked out into the waiting room, I saw all these pregnant women sitting out there. And I remember how much I used to love going to my OB because I was going there when I was pregnant,
Yeah.
and having a baby. And it was always such an exciting experience
Yeah.
for me. Um, and yeah, it just was really like it was a moment where as a woman, I felt like, it's like, wow, I've lost my worth. I don't have babies anymore. And
Mhm.
now I have nothing. I'm just crazy.
Oh my gosh. That's so relatable. Yeah, we get to a certain point. Oh my gosh. And for her to talk to your son like that, it's so invalidating of your experience. And I go take care of your mommy. And not to mention, why are you putting that on a
A
5-year-old?
5-year-old.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what is he supposed to do? That's not, it's I mean,
But
that's
these little moments of abuse, I want to point out how
yeah,
abusive that was.
yeah,
Like that was so like under the surface, subtly like a big like, fuck you.
yeah. And it's just very like your mommy's crazy, or also like,
Yeah,
it's really not that big a deal. Your 5-year-old can just take care of you. Then we have to look at the 5-year-old side. How are you giving that kind of responsibility to a 5-year-old? Maybe what if he processed that and like, okay, yeah, I
yeah,
have to take care of mommy now. Like you shouldn't have to put that on a child. There's nothing like that. We don't expect our children to take care of us that way. That's not okay.
never, never. Anyway,
Mm-mm.
I know. Sorry, I got totally off track.
That's okay. It's all good. Um, um, so you went to the doctor. Okay, so where was it that you started to like come out of this, or what helped you to come out of this?
Yeah. So I found my therapist. She saved my life, and I'll just say that. Yeah, I went through something called exposure and response prevention, which is the gold standard for treating obsessive compulsive disorder. Anybody out there who has it, I know it's tough. Please go do it. It works. It
Yeah,
works.
it's awesome.
Um, obs- uh, Exposure and response prevention is basically facing your fears. It's a clinical form of facing your fears. You do it with a therapist
Yeah.
who helps you kind of climb a hierarchy of your fears, particularly the ones that are blocking you in that moment right now, where the obsessions are. And you keep doing the harder and harder and harder ones, and you keep climbing the ladder. And for me, it was like what I was looking for all my life that I didn't realize I wanted was to be brave. And that became my thing. That became my word. It's like this is embodied bravery. Now I actually get it. I get it.
Oh, that makes me emotional. That became your word. It does. It does. It
Yeah.
makes me emotional because like when you see the way it clicks, that's amazing. And then, that birthed the Brave Women's, is it community center? I don't have it in front of me. Sorry. Tell
Yeah.
me about then how did you even go from there to form this place? And why did you decide I really want to help women and girls who have been through trauma?
Yeah, so that whole cycle of OCD just it really just changed my whole life because in the treatment I also realized for one that I come from a family that has
Okay.
some really abusive qualities, and I always struggle to talk about this,
Well, you
even though
want and don't say what you don't want, let's go.
yeah, 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 there's a lot of narcissism in my family, particularly my my father is, I would say, a classic narcissist. Um, and I started to realize through treatment that there were a lot, I felt really I didn't realize how terrible I felt about myself and the things that I actually believed about myself.
Yeah.
I didn't realize to the extent of it that I actually and I've said this before, Laura, I feel like nothing. I know there's a big part of me that still believes that, and I think will always believe that because the damage is done.
Yeah.
Now, I've grown other parts of myself
Yeah.
now that can help me. But I realized through treatment that wow, I hold a lot of beliefs, really negative lies about myself, like that I'm nothing and I don't matter. And
Yeah.
I just couldn't, I can't, I just couldn't get rid of it. And I still will battle. I think I'll battle with that all my life, even though I feel much stronger now.
Mhm.
But I realized that through treatment that I was a survivor of narcissistic
Mhm.
abuse. Um, I also just realized how much that had played into my entire life in terms of how all the relationships I've had, whether it's friendships, like past romantic relationships, somehow I came upon my husband where I don't have this at all. He's an
Oh,
amazing human
that's
being. He's
awesome.
not like this at all.
Yeah.
But it was everywhere. And I'm sure you hear this all the time. It's like it just was everywhere.
For me
Uh,
too. Yeah.
yeah.
Every bit of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say even the way I interacted with like just common acquaintances, it was always me at a lower status. It
Always. I mean,
always took a
yeah.
lower status.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thinking less of myself, no matter who I was interacting with. They were just amazing. And I was like, oh, I'm so thankful they talked to me.
Yeah.
I mean, those ridiculous beliefs, but they do come from that place. And especially if we've had that in our childhood and we've been told over and over. And then if we're going into friendships, even workplaces, and then marriages or relationships that where you're being treated less than, it's not easy because this is what I've said before. It's like when you look at your whole life, right? You become the common denominator, right? But that doesn't mean that you're the problem. It just
Right.
means like you're the common denominator. So I had to look at around myself and say, okay, what needs to change? And it needed to be me and not to make it, not to shapeshift, which I'd done all my life, to be better for them. But how am I going to make me happy? That was the biggest shift. And then everybody else around me had to decide if you want this version of Laura, you're more than welcome to stay. And it's hard when you are in abusive relationships that are saying, well, you're the common denominator, you're the problem. And you look around, you say, well, yes, I am. But when you open your eyes and start looking at a different mindset, you can say, well, I may be the common denominator, but I need to change what's going on. The patterns that I allowed, or the
Right.
patterns of how I dealt with people and
Right.
what became of these relationships.
Right. And that I don't have to make my drive in life being safe because that's what I realized.
Right. Yeah.
It's that every interaction I was having underneath it always was, you need to stay safe. You need to stay safe, which is not crazy.
Yeah.
It's what happens.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you're trained to behave that way in order to be,
Survival, right? You're in
yeah,
survival and your brain is like, this is danger. And
right,
we've experienced this before. It's danger. We have to be safe in this situation. We can't get hurt. We know what pain feels like. We don't want, your brain is always trying to protect you. It's so
right,
primitive that way. It's always trying to protect
right.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's doing what it's supposed to do. And I feel like, anyway, going through that whole process, I realized there was so much of me that was not coming to the surface and more of me of who I am that was like shoved way down there. And I wanted to be more of that. Like I wanted to know more of myself and more of my parts and more of like just wanted to be a fuller human being.
Yeah.
And I wanted to help other women do that because I knew I wasn't the only one and I wanted to find them.
Yeah.
I wanted to find them, and I I I wanted to be able to provide them with an actual way to embody bravery,
Mhm.
and I had learned that through exposure therapy,
Yeah.
and so my I really wanted to bring that to them in a way where it was digestible to them, even if it wasn't clinical. I wanted to have a place, um, the Brave Women's Community Center, where that was the focus,
Yeah.
to actually expose and find your own unique embodiment of bravery. And I have a certain skill set. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm also a creative arts therapist. I was in the theater world before I became a therapist. I went out and tried to make a career out of acting and theater.
Mhm.
So I had all of these embodiment skills. And I decided, yeah, I'm going to make a place where it's a safe haven, for one. It's a safe haven where this is a place where women don't perform, where they
Yeah.
can be themselves, um, where they learn a different culture with one another as
Mm,
well, where there isn't a competitive aspect to anything.
amazing.
I loathe that and I
Yeah.
do not tolerate it.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted there to be a place for that, and I wanted there to be a place where they could be artists of their own life and creative.
Mhm.
And whatever art teacher told you you suck and all that stuff that went on beforehand, whoever shut down your dreams and that part of you gets to like go, they're on the outside world, but when you come into this place, you
Yeah.
are an artist. And you are creative, and I will give you the tools and guide you to bring
Okay.
that part of yourself out,
Yeah.
right? And not only to bring that part of yourself out, but to learn how to be in the joy of creating with other women too,
That's
you
amazing.
know.
And, trying new things, even if people weren't, artists before, but trying new things we know is so good for our brain, for rebuilding those neural pathways and growing our brain. And I'm always saying, go out and try new things because this is how we're going to, well, really learn who we are and really continue to heal our brain. Um, I know, like, especially if we've been in abuse, like you're not allowed to try new things because you could fail, right?
Right.
You might fail. And so why even bother? Or if you do try new things, if you're with an abuser, they're usually telling you suck at it, and I've written books, I've painted, I've played pickleball, all those things I was not told I could do. And I loved doing them. And I'm like, okay, well, my painting was great. It doesn't matter if it was great. I just wanted to sit in there and paint. I'm like, can someone show me how to paint? Because
Yeah.
I've never been allowed. Because my dad is the painter, it's like I've never been allowed. No one else was told they could paint. And I wanted to go paint. And I'm like, well, look at that. I actually know what I'm doing. She's like, oh, you have a really good, color for, or what am I trying to say? You have a really good eye for like color and all that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I get the concept. I get the concept because I like, like I get the concept of mixing the colors and where I'm putting it in the shadow and light and all that. But man, to have somebody say that to me, like I just want to put a paintbrush with paint on the paper. That's all I want to do to see what comes of it. And it just was so freeing to me to do that.
Do you know what, like see, and that's the thing I think that speaks to the power of when you are in contact with someone, a teacher or a guide who says, like, this isn't the, I'm here to like give you permission and
Mhm.
to support you and to teach you. Maybe I have some things to teach you about like, like certain skills and structure of how to do this and how to
Yeah.
paint or how to act, right? Because mine
Right.
is more theater based, or how to move in your body because mine is more also dance based, right? It's like I can teach you those things. These are teachable skills,
Yeah.
right?
Right. And if
Um,
lived a life where, and I think about even if you had abusive parents, right, who were just like, oh, you can't dance. Because I think what my point of view is, and my ex was very like, we were very demanding on the kids, and my kids and I have had a lot of healing over that. But so like if you weren't going to be number one, you really couldn't do it. And I hate it. I hate that because I'm the same way you are. I hate competition. I love doing things, even with a group of people, but there's always that one who's like, oh, mine's better, or I
yes.
finished first, or whatever. And I'm like, hey, if you need that, great. Like, enjoy. But I hate that because
Yeah.
like, why aren't we just all like, just relax? Everybody just move your body. And people go, I don't know how to dance. Do you know how to like just go, like, even my granddaughter who's a year
Do
and
you
a
know how
half.
to walk through the room? Walking through the room is
Yeah.
movement. It's an expression of movement
Yes,
too.
exactly. Yes. Anything. But I think we've been in many times in society or whatever, just told that's not marketable or sellable or whatever. Nobody's asking you to do that. We're not asking you to do that. We're asking you to move your body to get out trauma. you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And to let go of things that are not serving you anymore. And the creative arts are a very, like, I think a very palpable way of
Yeah.
doing that, because it is embodied. Even if you are writing, it's still embodied. Your body is in that,
Yes.
you know, um, and your body needs to be in it to be able to, like, for everything to click together. Like
Mhm.
that's how we like get these little pings of insight, right? Of like, oh, now I get it. Because you can get it up here, but not get it anywhere else, right? You can have all kinds of information up here, but I mean, do we really understand that with all of us?
Right.
And there is a difference between understanding something in your mind versus understanding it with your whole being and then going out into the world and embodying that understanding.
Yeah. That's so true. And I love that because I know it's like you can read all day long, right? And you can get information all day long, but then it's doing some different things like you're doing that really helps to bring it all together, right? Your body, mind, soul, all of it together. Um, so what are people looking when you have women coming in, do you have a lot of hesitation at all if you're doing anything theatrical or dancing or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really frightening for them. It's funny how many women will come in and be frightened but still calm, you know? And I really always really respect that too. It's like I'm not an improver. I'm not a theater person. I'm not creative. I always hear that
Of
when
course.
they come in and it's like, here you are. Like here you get to reclaim that and you don't need to prove anything to me or anybody here. Like I'm gonna structure this to help you be able to access that in the best way I can.
Right.
I always have that structure around things. And part of that structure is building community first, and building that sense of like, you are not here by yourself. We are here, we create this together. And everybody has a responsibility to each other to create that community of support and non-judgment together. So if one person is out there saying, well, I'm better, like that's
Mhm.
yeah. I don't, like I said, I don't have much toleration for that. And when people show up that way, I usually will not have them back. Um, but when women come in, it's like that's what they should expect, right? Is like this is an environment I wanted all my life and I never got it.
Yes.
Is that environment where you can come in here, don't need to prove anything to anybody
And be
and
safe, right?
be
Right.
safe. That's the first thing. That structure is built in. That is the first thing we do. And
Mhm.
then we start playing. And then we start getting into more playful aspects of like, let's um let's start moving our bodies and seeing what it's like to just even walk through the space a little differently. Walk
Yeah.
through the space like you're in a hurry and notice that part of you come out, right? That's a character inside of you. You're doing it right now. You're being creative
Okay.
by walking through this space really quickly and embodying that part of you that's rushed and in a hurry,
Mhm.
right? That's a character. And so I move very slowly in that of showing that it's almost like showing them, what do you mean you can't be creative? You're doing it right now.
Yes. Well, that's probably what they've been told, and then we have those voices, right? From years of being told certain things. You're not creative, you're not talented, you're not whatever. whoever told you that in the past. And so, and I think, don't you think it's like a protective mechanism too? You walk in, you're like, well, I'm not creative, so don't expect much of
Oh,
me.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't expect me to participate very well. But, and I totally get that. But I love that you're creating a safe space. That's the thing that's so important. And what I so wanted, when I was healing. And the group I ended up going to was not safe, but that's okay. I talk about it all the time. So, we just have to make sure we find the right spaces where people are, but I didn't really understand. So now that's why we talk about it. So I can give more information. And what does it look like to be safe? And what are people expecting from you? Because you're very much like, what do you mean you're not creative? You're doing it right now. And that was not the atmosphere of the group I went to. It was very much like, well, you need to do this or you're not going to heal, and okay. So I guess what? I went through the entire program anyway because I wanted to have information. So, and then I contacted the national organization and we had a discussion because
Mhm.
you can't treat people with abuse like that. And there wasn't a group for abuse. So that was part of the problem. It wasn't a group for abuse. And that's why it's so important that you have that background
Yeah.
and you're letting people know that this is what it's for and it's trauma informed. And this is how I'm going to take care of you and you're going to be safe.
And I leave the term survivor open to like I do not it's not a pissing contest of who has been abused more. And I do think that, we can't really compare these things. I really like to leave that label of survivor open and that you are allowed to claim it. If you've ever experienced being in a situation where you were led to believe something that was harmful to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and I know because I do have people who say, "Well, it wasn't as bad as yours or something like that, or I didn't stay as long as you did or stuff like that." And I'm like, I don't, what are you talking about? Like, it doesn't matter. What does it matter? You know? And so it's hard. I feel bad for people who have to feel like they have to move themselves down to a different level. It's like we're not in competition for that. It's like we're all just here trying to heal. So I wanted to ask you about storytelling circles and what that looks like, and then also your audio library. So tell me a little bit about that. And then, of course, leading into your podcast.
Yeah. Well, the audio library actually doesn't exist right now. I've kind of gone away with that because I've gone towards the podcast. And, when I was first building the audio library, I was just interviewing and interviewing and taking many interviews from many women who graciously reached out to me to say, I want to talk about this. I'm ready to talk about it. And so my plan was to create an audio library where women could go on and listen to other women's stories for inspiration. Um, but then I ended up going into the podcast realm of things, and I'm glad that I did. And so at this point, I'm taking all those interviews that I had done in the past and choosing which ones to release now into the podcast and really featuring those women, those that want to be featured, um, to be able to tell their story. And so that's just been a light in my life and uh, been building a wonderful community with those women in doing that.
It's
Yeah.
amazing, and I'm always amazed at the stories that the women are telling. So brave, and I'm just so proud of them for sharing their story. Because it does help so many people out there to say like I'm not alone. This happened to other people, and also to see that there's every kind of woman who has gone through this from every walk of life and every race. We just have everything, and it's amazing to hear some of the stories. And tell me about when you have the storytelling circles. Do you have those in the groups when you're doing things like that? Is that something that you want them to share?
Yeah. Well, so the storytelling circles I do mostly through therapeutic, what's called therapeutic improv. And so there's like a process before I get to storytelling with my, this is for my in-person participants. And that's what I'm trying to build community here in the Denver, Colorado area for in-person. And I do something called therapeutic improv, which sounds like really frightening to most people, but it's not. It's not whose line is it anyway. It's like it's a really gentle process.
Okay, good.
It's learning to play.
It sound a little frightening.
Yeah, it's just learning to play together again. And the way I set it up are exercises where anybody can do this.
Yeah.
It's really accessible. Um, but what happens is that's usually a 2 hour workshop, and I usually try to do like 6 week sessions where I have a base group of maybe like 8 to 10 women, so that they get to work together for a while
Okay.
and get to know each other. And in that 2 hour session, we play together basically for the first hour. In the second hour, we come together and we write based on a prompt that I give them. So it's like this open prompt, like I said yes when I wanted to say no. That might be one of the prompts.
Yeah.
And you dump on the page for like 5 to 10 minutes. You just
Yeah.
dump on the page anything that comes to mind. And what happens after that is that they are all invited up to the center of the circle to then speak on what they wrote. And they're not reading it, they're just extemporaneously processing with these people that they've built this like trust with for an hour, just playing and laughing together.
Yeah.
Um, and that itself is like it's a storytelling, right? Of like, here's what came up for me in this prompt. And it's always like this beautiful moment where they come up. And it's always a choice. You don't have to come up, but almost every time, almost everybody goes goes up for their 2 minutes. And I keep it to 2 minutes because it's a very vulnerable thing to do, to come up
Yeah.
and speak to those people and really look them in the eye and tell them from that vulnerable place what you wrote, and what was meaningful to you about that. And so that's the way my storytelling circles look.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's really amazing. And I love that, I think once one person goes, you feel a little braver to be able to go. And I love that every single activity is really just building on courage and that
Yeah,
bravery. So I just love that. And you didn't tell me that, but I'm like, I can see that that's what
yeah,
you're doing is building on that because we do need that, especially, if we're coming out of an abusive situation, we don't have any more courage because being brave or giving your opinion or doing things in the past got you hurt or abused or whatever. And I love this because do need to have that to move forward in our life. I did a post. I thought it was going to be very much a nothing kind of post of like that. I heard that a trauma response is people don't decorate their new homes like once they've left abuse because they've never been able to make decisions.
yeah.
And I had so many women going, "Oh my gosh. Oh, I didn't realize." They're like, "I don't even know what to pick." I'm like, "Go pick something. And then if you bring it home and you don't like it, go take it back." I'm like, just go do it. You got to be brave. And I always say, like, it that's such a small thing, but it can feel like a big thing. I'm like, just you can borrow my courage. But just go,
Yes.
no one's going to yell at you for buying the wrong thing because you don't have anyone doing that. You're safe now. So
I love that. I love that you tell your clients that, or women in your circle, that you can borrow my courage too, and like go to Home Goods and pretend that I'm with you. My
yeah.
voice is with you, and go, you know.
I just because lately, and so I've done posts on this is what I bought recently, and it's like pink pillows, a
Yeah.
pink ottoman, a blue chair, things like that because we weren't really having a lot of color in our home, and I walked in and just bought it. I didn't go like, oh, what's he gonna think? It's blue. I have to talk him into blue, and why do we have to have blue? And it's going to be a big thing. And if someone's abusive, a lot of times, self-aware narcissists on the internet say like, even if I liked it, I'd tell her I didn't like it, just to continue the game. And so we and to keep us off, which is the whole point, is to keep us in confusion and chaos. And so I just want to continue. I had a lot of friends at the beginning telling me, it's so exciting. You get to decide everything now on your own. You get to like choose your life and build the life of your dreams. And I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't looking at it as a positive thing. And I have
Mhm.
lots of friends who are healthy who were like, no, look at it as a positive thing. You get to build the life of your dreams. Um,
Yeah,
so
you do. Like, I think that like these things happening, not that I have like I don't have rose-colored glasses about it, or that, it's like, oh gosh, thank you so much, for all the abuse. And but I
oh,
do
yeah,
I do think it just gives us it just gives us a superpower in terms of like, I think when you get to a certain point, it's like what you said, at least I did. I got to a point where it was like, I'm gonna do something about this or I'm gonna die,
yeah.
you know. And I think when you're put into that corner, it really can be a gift in that um, it forces you into it forces you into expansion, and it forces you into places where other people won't go, and sometimes like it really is a gift to get forced into the corner.
Mhm. And we're using our voice for all those women who don't want to use theirs, and they don't have to go on your podcast um and tell their story. It's like we're going to be the voice for women who don't want to use their voice, who are too scared to use their voice, and that's okay. It's like we'll do it for you as much as we can.
And everybody's got their way of backing
Yeah,
out of the corner and coming back to life, and it doesn't have to be through what we're doing, which is like podcast work or voice work. It's in many, many ways
yeah,
that it can happen. And I really, that's the thing that I always try to convey to the women that I work with. It's like, you get to decide. This is yours. You don't have to be the loudest in the room either. You don't have to go on a bunch of podcasts either if that's not the way you want to do it. It's
yeah.
your brand of bravery. It's your brand.
I love that. And that seems like a good place to stop.
Yeah.
I love that. But I want to ask you, tell us where everybody can find you. And we're also going to put everything in the show notes so that they can connect with you, your podcast, your Brave Women's Community Center. Do you do things online as well, or is it mostly in person?
I've just started doing some things online, so I am doing a creative writing course that is beginning actually next week, May 12th. But it's already filled, but I will be doing
Okay.
another round of that beginning in uh, sorry,
That's
after
okay.
the summer in August.
Well,
In
that's
August,
okay.
I'll
Well, this
be
will come out before then, so then people can check out your website for that information. But tell us where everybody can find you.
Yes, so my website is bravewomenscommunity.com. You can also find me on Instagram at the Brave Women's Community Center, and same for Facebook, Brave Women's Community Center. And I'm on LinkedIn as Lucia Sivertsen. So I really welcome you to reach out to me through any of those platforms. Also, you're welcome to email me, and my email is on the website as
Okay, and
well.
we'll put everything in the show notes as well so that they can connect with you and decide how they'd like to like really connect and work with you. So Lucia, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we go, can I just make one announcement that I have coming up? I received a grant to create a year-long theater program for women survivors and women across the board, any type of abuse, any type of relationship.
Oh,
Um, and so they will be, I'm looking for participants. I'm looking for 15 women. And this is in person in the Denver area, of course, but they would work with me for a year to come together to actually be artists in residence. So the first 3 months they would come together to learn how to be in a creative group together. And then the second 3 months, they would start writing a show together. We would start devising that together and creating their own show around abuse and healing from abuse. And the next part of that would be actually putting on a major, like full performance for others to see, to bring more awareness to abuse and all the ways that it can and show up for women in the healing process. And so throughout that, a documentary will also be being made. So this is a very lofty goal on my part. I got the grant and I'm like, oh my God, can I actually do this? But like right now, I'm just like, need to get the participants. Yeah, so it's going to document their journey doing this program as well. So I just wanted to put out there that I'm looking for participants if anyone is in the Denver, Colorado area and interested.
Wow. That just sounds amazing. It's not too lofty of a goal. So you can do it. I know it sounds like a big thing. That's amazing. So I hope you guys will reach out and participate if you're in the Denver area. Definitely reach out to her. And of course, if anything resonated with you today, please feel free to touch all the buttons. We always need a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify to let Podcast Land know you love us and we can keep doing this work and getting the work out there. So, Lucia, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it.